Hello, everyone. Um, where are we today? Today's Tuesday. So we're here in Wealthy Wise Words and I'm going to be talking. Okay, let me try this again with my new tongue. So we're in Wealthy Wise Words. Holistic healing medicine is the topic that I'm going to be sharing today. And I want to start off with thanking Afura for having this opportunity for me to be able to share. And so I've shared live, and for whatever reason, I'm a little bit nervous this morning. So I'm just going to take a couple of deep breaths and just to kind of just sink into where it is that I need to be and just to be present. And one of the things that I really like about the fact that we are in these communities is that those of you get it, right? So those of you get the fact that even though this is something that we do on a regular basis, we sometimes just need to be able to just zone back in to our own energy. And so I am grateful for that. So on that note, I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the things that has come forward for me in the last little while is that more and more times I've actually been talking to different women or women talking to women, and the theme that seems to be coming up is that as women are actually expanding within their own business, they are and up-leveling, then things start to come back up again, and things that they've actually thought they had actually put to bed and that they've already resolved and that they've dealt with are coming back and creeping back up again, and it's just creating some havoc in their life. So it's creating difficulty in their relationships, or it's creating difficulties at work. They're having symptoms like flashbacks and having sleepless nights and having difficulty getting through their day-to-day lives because these intrusive thoughts and feelings and things that they'd already thought that they had already addressed are coming back and hitting them full force. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some holistic healing medicine techniques, and it's using psychotherapy because that is my background. So psychotherapy strategies as well as some healing energy skills. So just to kind of combine the two things together. And so some things may be new, some things may be maybe a reminder and of things that you've already been doing or that you have done in the past that you can actually bring forward again. So I am going to do my best to try and keep this to 30 minutes because that is my goal, and so I'm going to try and be very mindful of the time. But in these the next 30 minutes, we're going to identify the symptoms that are affecting you. We're going to talk about being able to create daily practices to minimize the effects that these symptoms are having on you, and we're going to integrate moon medicine into your daily practices. So those are the three things that I will cover during this 30 minutes. So my name is Gigadu Migwen, and that stands for Talking Feather Woman, and that is my spirit name. And my earth name is Rollie Allaire, and I'm a holistic trauma coach, a spirit flame keeper, and a and a soul healer. So I work with women who've experienced trauma, and I use that, as I said earlier, in combination of being able to combining psychotherapy as well as energy work. So I actually use both of these two things together when I'm working with the women that I work with. And so since 2001, I've devoted my career in helping clients regain value and purpose, and help them get through some difficult times that they've experienced through their lives. And I do this through doing different kinds of group work and creating sacred circles and being able to, both virtually and in person, and also being able to do one-on-one sessions with people. So like these are the things that I actually do to be able to help bring women together. And I've been doing this since 2001. And so I'm a wife and a mom of 2 adult boys. My oldest is 23 and my youngest is going to be 22 in just over a week. So so next Wednesday is his birthday, and so he has definitely created some challenges for me over the years, and he's now going to be 22. So a very sacred number, and looking forward to some of the experiences. And so he's definitely he definitely has some healing energies that that at some point I'm hoping that he will tap into. Now he just thinks mom's crazy. So so hopefully, except for that when he needs something, he always comes back and says, hey mom, do you have something that might work for this? So so although he thinks that I'm crazy, he still does come forward with some requests of things that may be helpful in using some natural healing techniques. So over the years, I've had my fair share of traumatic experiences. And so the things that I'm actually going to share are things that I've used with my clients, I've used with myself, and things that have actually happened over the years of being able to pull things together again. So most of us have experienced trauma. So like I hear sometimes people say, oh, well, I've never experienced trauma. And that's not necessarily true. So sometimes we experience traumatic events that we are able to cope with and that we are able to move forward with, and that it doesn't cause us a lot of distress. Sometimes those events will actually come back tenfold in the future because of the of a new event that's not even related, or that isn't even the same. And so that is just something to keep in mind as well, is that that sometimes these things will actually come forward and we don't even realize that that these things, just because of our coping mechanisms at the time, the way that we were actually able to handle things, our mindset. So there's a lot of factors that actually contribute to why some people have that affects some people, and why sometimes it doesn't affect people. So just keep that in mind. So growing up, there was a lot of childhood trauma that we had experienced as a family. My mom used corporal punishment as the way that she resolved things, and my dad is a recovering alcoholic. So growing up in an alcoholic home, a lot of conflict, a lot of dysfunction. That there's 4 of us in the family, and all 4 of us have actually coped with and dealt with things differently, and things that were traumatic for me, I didn't think that was a big deal, and I don't necessarily even recall the incidences where my sisters will actually share, like, oh, well, do you remember when this happened and it was so traumatic for them, and vice versa, right? So like it all kind of depends on what it is that's going on in our own lives, what it is that's going on, and how we're responding to it. And so that is something to be really mindful of. And so, because not everybody's going to react the same way, and not everybody's going to have it's not going to have the same effect on everyone. And I'm going to apologize because I have my sinuses are driving me crazy this morning. So I've got a lot of nasal drip, and so I do have some water that if I need it. But so at the end, so if you actually stay to the end, I actually have a very special bonus for you. And so and I will share that in the comments near the end. So just keep that in mind. So if you want to stick around and join me, if you happen to be coming back on the replay, then please give me hashtag replay, so that I will definitely come back and answer any questions or any comments that anybody has, as well as if you guys happen to be hopping on then and you are excited and ready to go, then give me some hearts and likes. And right now I know that I am talking to myself, and that's the joy of being online, right? So sometimes people are there, sometimes they're not. So so definitely when you guys are back in on the replay, please hashtag replay for me, so that I know that you've actually come back on, and that if you have any questions. But I will definitely have I will be explaining some bonuses for you that that are only being offered in this particular segment, and as a thank you to Afira for being able to put this out and allow me to be able to share my knowledge today with all of you. So first thing that I want to do is start off with being able to identify trauma. So we actually talked about the fact that it's different for everybody. Not everybody reacts the same, not everybody feels the same, and not everybody will respond the same. And so like these things and how long it takes one person to be able to cope with something that was traumatic over another person is going to be different from one time to the other. And so I can say, for speaking in for me, is that for the most part, I was able to cope and deal with a lot of things, and things piled and piled and piled until about 4.5 years ago. Then something happened and shit literally hit the fan, and I just couldn't cope. And so this person who's always been very strong and very level-headed, and not to say that the things didn't bother me, but I was able to rebound and function a lot better until about 4.5 years ago. It might even be getting close to 5 years by now. And so it is just something that, actually I think it is 5 years. So anyway, these are the kinds of things that would actually happen. So hello Neha, thank you for joining. And so these are some of the things that are really important for us to be able to remember, is that different people are going to have different responses and different reactions. And there's not one that's right, and there's not one that's wrong. And so that is something that is, again, it's very personal, and it's very important for us to be able to own as being our own, because there's nothing wrong with us if these are some of the things that are going on. So some of the symptoms that you may be experiencing that are telling you that things are happening again. These are things that I thought that I had dealt with, and a lot of times it's because of something new that surfaced. And in this particular case, because this is what it is that we're talking about, is that women are up-leveling and getting to that next level, and things are just kind of resurfacing all those emotions back. And so things like intrusive thoughts, things like thoughts being triggered. So there's the intrusive thoughts, but thoughts also being triggered. So somebody will say something and it takes you back to that moment, and without going into, because then there's also flashbacks. So like that's also something that's a little bit different than the triggered thoughts. Nightmares, having and sometimes the nightmares are not even related to the event. They're just really weird nightmares that are actually happening, and you're like, where did that come from? What was it that was happening? A lot of times I see clients that actually will have OCD type behaviors. So OCD, for people that don't know, is obsessive compulsive disorder. And so some compulsions or some obsessiveness will actually start to happen. And so those kind of symptoms will actually kind of resurface. And it doesn't mean necessarily that you have OCD, but those symptoms, a lot of those kinds of symptoms sometimes will actually come forward. Self-doubt, a lot of anxiety. Anxiety is a huge trigger for a lot of women who've experienced different kinds of trauma in their lives. And mood swings. So their moods are just going, woo, and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? And I have no idea. Like 1 minute I was good, and the next minute I was snapping my head off, right? So like these kinds of things sometimes will happen as well. Difficulty sleeping. Waking up with night terrors. So night terrors are, again, different than the flashbacks. Flashbacks can occur while we're like kind of drifting into sleep, or when we're actually awake. So flashbacks can kind of happen at different times. But night terrors are when we actually wake up from a dead sleep in typically very shaky, very sweaty. Like those are night terrors. Like those are like coming back full force, intense, and sometimes actually coming out of reliving the events that have actually happened. So so night terrors are a little more intense than, actually I shouldn't say a little more, most of the time they're a lot more intense than nightmares. And night terrors are typically always associated with the event that has actually happened. And so Being hypervigilant. So being hypervigilant is another one of those symptoms that just kind of, we're just nervous. We're just worried about what everything it is that's going on. Overly sensitive with everything that's happening around us. Being overprotective. Negative self-talk. So just because we have negative self-talk doesn't mean that we're actually experiencing trauma, because negative self-talk sometimes happens with, often happens with a lot of people, because we're very harsh on ourselves, especially women. And so, but that negative self-talk becomes more enhanced and becomes more and more pronounced and more difficult. Hi, Victoria. Excuse me. And so a lot of times one of the things that that will happen is also impatience. So just really having difficulty with being able to just kind of be in our own skin and where we are. And sometimes just the emotions that we actually had thought that we had actually put to bed, and we had actually, so we had released the situation, we had no longer any more attachments, we did the cord cutting releases, however it is that that looks like for you, and the emotional releases, and yet there's a new cord that's now attached to these emotions and bringing you back to these events. And so that is another one of those times that you actually are aware that there's symptoms. So one of the ways that we can actually address these symptoms is to first identify them as symptoms, right? So sometimes we're just like, oh, I'm just in a bad mood, I just haven't eaten, I just haven't been getting enough sleep, like all these kinds of things, and we just kind of put out those excuses. So one of the first things is being able to identify that these are definitely symptoms that we're experiencing. And another thing is like, oh, my husband's just being a dick, right? So like it's his fault. Or like my kids aren't listening, so like I'm just more impatient and more short-tempered. And when we actually take a look and stop blaming those of us that are around us and start looking inward, then we are able to identify that these are some of the things that are coming up, a lot of times out of fear, right? So out of fear of being, growing and expanding and changing and shifting. And as much as change is important, most people are afraid of change, right? So even people that say, oh no, I can change and I can go with the flow and all is good, these people still have the things that go on with them, and they still struggle with change. Change is scary because change is the unknown. So just being able to take ownership on our reactions. So if something is happening, then we take ownership for that reaction. How are we reacting? So your husband was a dick today. Was he a dick yesterday, or was he a dick a month ago? How did you respond differently, right? So so these kinds of things may or may not have any impact, and maybe they are not even related. Maybe he's just really being a dick and you're really having a hard time dealing with it, right? So like those kinds of things are just really important for us to be able to identify what's different, what's happening, how long has it been different, and just being able to kind of figure out like what is happening. Sometimes we actually need to reevaluate our relationships, because sometimes we're actually around other people that create things to make things more unhealthy. So you have that friend who's always clingy, or always bringing in drama, or the relationship with your spouse or partner is not the best relationship, and that you really need to reevaluate whether or not you need to be continuing in those relationships or not. And you're the only one who's going to know what is good and what isn't, because if you actually tap into your inner self, you'll actually be able to know, do I continue or do I not? Do I step forward or do I step back? And so these are kinds of the things, and really important for us to discover, do we actually have boundaries, right? So do we have clear boundaries? Are they set boundaries? Do we break our boundaries? Do we have certain boundaries with certain people that never seem to be followed, right? So like those kinds of things are like super important for us to be able to do. And do others take advantage of us? Do we allow others to take advantage of us? Do we have difficulty saying yes or saying no when somebody asks? And do we say yes freely and when we want to, right? So these are some of the boundary things that we really need to take a look at and see whether or not these are some of the things that are happening. And one of the things that it's really important, one of the other things to be able to create that awareness is what's going on in our current situation that is bringing us back to those emotions. So what's happening now that takes you back to those emotions? What is it that's going on, and being able to create that awareness. So ways of being able to minimize some of the effects that this happens is make a list of things that are making you feel safe, that make you feel safe. So what makes you feel safe, right? And make a list. So create that list. Who are the people that you can trust, and reach out. And again, be careful not to include those negative Nancy's, right? You don't need, when you're actually feeling low, you don't need somebody to pile on more of that negativity that you're already trying to pull yourself out of. So you need to find the people around you that are going to be positive and supportive and really connect with you. The other thing too is being able to, what's worked for you in the past? So what has happened in the past that has actually helped you work through these particular events and situations? So, so that leads us into the second thing, is being able to create daily practices. So one of the daily practices that that's really important is being able to connect into your body every day. And so it helps keep things real. So, and it could be extreme things, it could be small things, but just doing something every day to bring you back into your body. So going for a walk, because it connects with all of your entire body. And hi Faye, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. And so just being able to doing things like practicing yoga or dancing, getting a massage. So I know that I'm in for that one. If I can have a massage every day, I'd love that, but that's not always feasible. But getting a massage, right? So just being able to get into that body. And participate in any kind of physical activity. So like doing, if you like sports, then do sports, or go swimming, or whatever it is that'll actually get you into that physical body. And doing that every day. So again, really, really important for us to be implementing that into our daily practice. Take at least 15 minutes a day alone. So, so doing things like having a bath, meditating, journaling, and I'm going to talk more about the journaling in a little bit, using affirmations, talking to yourself in the mirror. So these are other ways of being able to create, and doing these things daily. Again, it's being able to take that 15 minutes for yourself. And again, it doesn't have to be the exact same thing every day as part of the daily practice. It's those two different things. So taking 15 minutes for yourself and getting into your body. So those are two things. Going to bed and getting up at the same time. So, and creating some morning and evening rituals that will actually allow that to be able to blend softly, like easily. And because when we are more, then it actually helps us be able to get on through the day. And that is for a lot of things. So like not necessarily just for dealing with trauma, but being able to, or traumatic recurring memories of trauma, is just being able to kind of get back into that part of things. Anchoring into the present. So being able to tap into your inner soul, your inner person, but also being able to do that so that you're actually anchoring into the present and what is going on around you. So using your five senses. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you taste? Right? So like all of those five senses, and just really being able to tap into those. Starting and ending your day with gratitude. And that is like super, super important, because if we can actually connect and have and be grateful, it makes all the difference in the world. And so I am looking at the time and see that I'm going to be going over a little bit. And so and being able to set small goals, using medication if you need it, finding ways to relax. And so reading books that have nothing to do with self-help or your business, right? So just being able to just finding some things that just kind of disconnect from the things that are going on. I use essential oils a lot. And so like the essential oils really help me get grounded and connected. Breaking down larger tasks into smaller actionable steps. So although our goals are this big, breaking them down into smaller steps will allow us to be able to achieve the things that we actually are trying to accomplish and making our lives more manageable, because that is one of the things, is that we're feeling like we're out of control. Being more specific to, so being more specific in the journaling aspect is that a lot of times I'll actually hear things like, journaling's too tough, I don't know what to write, I don't have time, I'm worried somebody might read it. And so there's a lot of excuses. There's a lot of things that you can actually say to not to journaling and why you don't want to be journaling. So, so what I have to say to journaling is tough. So writing's painful, then type it or record it. It doesn't draw it, right? So it doesn't actually have to be in written form in a book, the way that is being able to use a journal that way. And but being able to just get those thoughts and those emotions and those feelings out on external to you, right? So like whether it's painting, whether it's drawing, whether it's whatever, it doesn't matter what it is that it looks like, just get it out there. Get it out there daily. I don't know what to write. So that's another thing, is that I don't know what to write. Just stop and just take some deep breaths and just connect to yourself and just allow whatever it is to happen. So whatever that needs to come forward will come forward, and just let it free flow and don't do anything else with it. I don't have time. It's so important to just take the time. Just take the time, and there's nothing else that I can say about that statement. Just take the time. So you can say that you don't have time, but if there is something for someone else or for your business, you're going to take the time. So take the time for you, because if you don't replenish yourself, you're not going to be able to. I'm worried that somebody's going to read it. So then if you're afraid that somebody's going to read it, then maybe you really do need to reevaluate the people that are in your lives. Because if you can't trust the people around you to trust that they're going to actually respect your privacy, then should they really be in your life? And so that's really important for you to be able to do as well, is to reevaluate. But there's other ways of being able to do it. So obviously not everybody's going to cut everybody out of their lives. But if that is the case, again, reevaluate those relationships, which is what I had talked about earlier. And so the other thing is just being able to write it out on a separate piece of paper. It doesn't need to be in a notebook, and then burn it or shred it or destroy it, right? So just being able to get it out will allow you to be able to have that ability to be able to self-reflect and being able to bring that forward. So one of the things that is super important to me that I use on a regular basis is integrating moon medicine into my life. And so when we actually integrate the moon medicine into our lives, and I know that there's, so Neha had actually had popped in here, and I know that she's got like all this whole other stuff about astrology, and I'm really looking forward to learning from her. All of it kind of pieces together, but the moon medicine is something that I do have knowledge of and that I do use, and it's just being able to use those 4 phases. Like there's 8 phases, so like today I'm just going to actually talk about the 4 main phases. So like the new moon. So the new moon is about being able to get started and setting your intentions. The first quarter is about being able to take action, and nothing's going to change if you don't take action. So you need to take the steps in order for things to change. Full moon is about being able to release and clear and letting go. And the last quarter is being able to be thankful and making a gratitude list. So hi, Katerina. And so like these are things that are like super important for us to be able to do, is being able to use the moon medicine. So we are women, and so we are already connected. So whether we believe it or we don't believe it, or we know it or we don't know it, we are already connected to the to moon medicine. So one of the things in terms of my teachings is that women once a month are connected to from Mother Earth to the Great Spirit, and it is completely open once a month during that time. And so for those of us like me who no longer have my own cycle, is being able to really connect with, so I really connect with the moon's energy. of being able to follow the cycles of the moon energy and allowing myself to be able to be in that time frame so that I actually still have that connection. And so this is something that is extremely important for us to be able to do, is being able to honor our own moon time as well as the universe moon time. And a lot of times women will actually be synced with the moon cycle if we actually follow the moon cycle, and so we'll actually be synced with that. And so that is something that is extremely important for us to be able to do, is using that moon medicine. It is there to be able to help us heal. It is there to be able to help us connect. And like I said, when I use the four phases, it really helps to break it down into a larger. I use the 8 phases, and I actually work through week by week as we move through the moon's phase. But in terms of being able to share that with you guys, is there's those 4 main phases, and some of you already may use them. Some of you may have different experiences and with it. And so mine has to do with my Aboriginal background, and so that is where the traditions for me come from. But each and every one of us as a woman have that connection, and we have it within us to be able to heal ourselves. And so being able to use the phases in our daily practice is, again, one of those really important things for us to be able to do, is bring those things together and have that with us, and being able to be able to connect. And one of the things that is often forgotten is, and that has to do with a lack of trust usually, is that as women, we are tribal. We connect with each other. We congregate, and Afura has this beautiful group that allows us to be able to come together in circle and come together in sharing and being able to support each other and do the things that we need to be doing. And so that is extremely important, is being able to find your tribe, find your sisterhood, because one of the things that is so important in our own healing is being able to have that connectedness to other women, and that is an important part and an important feature. So when we gather virtually or in person, it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference in terms of that energy and that connectedness. And when we find our tribe, we're able to actually be connected and be and we're able to celebrate each other, and we're able to honor each other, and we're able to listen to each other without judgment. And that part there is like super important, is without judgment. We put a lot of judgment on our own selves, not to have somebody else putting that judgment. So sometimes we just need to simply be witnessed. And so, and if we need the advice, then we're free to be able to ask that advice. But we always have free will. So we always have that ability to be able to make a choice or not. So even though somebody says, well, this is what you should do, just because somebody says that's what you should do, doesn't mean that's what you have to do. So one of the things is that, so the special bonus that I was talking about is that I'm inviting you into my Moon Medicine Soul Sisters, and for free. So for a month, so you have access to that for free. And apparently the link's not working for me. I had done a save, but it's not working. So anyway, I will post it in here. And oh, actually, I wonder if I control paste. Technology. No, so I'll have to come back. I'll have to come back and put it. Oh, there it is. Apparently, there's just a delay. So, so that's the link to be able to get it, and so you can actually join us in our Moon Medicine Soul Sisters group for free, where we actually walk through those 8 phases, and we actually break it down through that. And so, being able to connect with you there. And so that is free for the next 30 days and only offered to this group. So, so hope to see some of you there. And so for those of you who are actually looking for more in-depth, one of the things that I haven't shared with anybody yet, because it hasn't gone live yet, is that I have a new group program. I have a new group program that's actually starting as well in October. And so it hasn't been, like, it's hot off the press. You guys, like, nobody else even knows anything about it, other than Flora, who's been helping me with my copy. And so, hi, Jamie. And so the Sister Soul Medicine is a 5-month sacred soul sister. Is a 5-month sacred soul sister for women who are looking to gain a deeper understanding of the healing their trauma. And so we're going to begin our journey on the last quarter of the moon cycle in the releasing phase. And we actually work through 6 cycles. Even though it's 5 months, we're actually going to end on the 6th release of the phases. And this healing space is helps us to be able to bring us back into so when we're done, we actually come back into our own worlds. And so we work with the energy of Grandmother Moon throughout the entire time. So we actually go through that entire cycle. We use some psychotherapy techniques as well as some different healing modalities. And so it's just jam-packed full of things in that 5 months. If you'd like some more information about this program, then just shoot me a message and I will definitely give you some information about it, because my like I said, it's not launched yet, it's not live, and so my webpage isn't quite ready, but I'm definitely willing to give you guys any information that you guys want on it. And just shoot me a private message. And as a bonus, one of the things that and again in this group only, is because I haven't launched it to anybody else, is that if you choose to participate in any one of my soul medicine programs, so either Mother Soul Medicine, which is my one-to-one program, or the Sister Soul Medicine, then you get 10% off if you pay in full, so of the entire package, or you get 10% off the first payment if you actually choose to do a payment option. And one of the things that I actually included in that 10% off is also the healing journey circle, which is a quarterly. So I do that within the seasons, and so I do that on the new moon of each one of the seasons. So for example, the next one is going to be September 9th, and so you can actually participate in just one, or you can participate in the whole package. But again, I'm giving you guys, if you choose to, 10% off of that package. If you do Sister Soul Medicine, then you already get automatically 2 weeks, or 2 of those sessions. So if you think that you might be interested but you're not too sure, then hop on a free discovery call with me, and we can chat. We can see whether or not this fits or doesn't fit for you, and not necessarily this particular program or whatever other services, and perhaps that I'm not necessarily the right fit, but I can direct you in somebody else's path. So I want to again thank Afura for allowing me to share my knowledge and share my experiences and be able to put that out there. And I'm over by about 10 minutes, so I'm going to apologize. But again, my name is Talking Feather Woman, so it kind of just fits right in there for me, right? So again, I want to be able to thank all of you for tuning in, and if you are catching the replay, then hashtag replay and let me know that you are on. And if you have some feedback for me, then I would be more than happy to receive, as well as I am, if you have any questions or any comments about some of the things that may be coming up for you, then definitely interested in hearing about that. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you and namaste. Best wishes. Many blessings. And apparently there's another delay. Technology. I love it.